A second type of measure of position that we want to study is called percentiles. Think P as in pennies, 100 cents. Also percentile, like percent is per 100. But what we care about here is that we're talking about 100 parts of something, and we'll write a subscript to notate it. Oh, also, don't forget, it's got to be an ordered list of numbers. If you want to talk about where the number 72 ranks, keep in mind the list needs to be in order to discuss that ranking. So now going back to the subscript, we're talking about writing it as P2, which means 2%, just like P99 means we're 99% of the way through a list. And elaborating on that a little bit further, we're starting from the left or the bottom. So when we have P1, it's 1% of the way from the smallest number of the list, or we're in the bottom 1%. So you might have heard the phrase, oh, my score was in the top 1%, but we'd really have to refer to that as P99 if we want to talk about it as a top. Because the concept here is when we have P65, which is the 65th percentile, that some score or some age or whatever it is ranked 65th, the important thing to understand is that 65% of the items are below the item. That'll also help you with the formula. So when we go to talk about the formula, the important thing is to understand we're finding the percentile of some data item. Maybe we've lined up a bunch of dogs by weight, and we want to find out where that 25-pound dog ranks. So what we do is we take the count of items below that dog's weight, below whatever X is, and keep in mind that means don't count X. So if the dog weighs 25 pounds, don't count any of the 25-pound dogs. It's only dogs that weigh less than 25 pounds. Next thing we're going to do is divide by how many items are in the list. Because just because there's 3 people below you, if there's nobody after you, you're at the 100th percentile. But if there's 1,000,000 people ahead of you, you might be at the 1 percentile. So we need to know how many total items are on the list, not just what's below you. And the next thing we do is multiply by 100 just to turn it into a percent. Whoops, hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. And so just as a reminder, again, don't forget that the list needs to be ordered. And when it comes time for the answer, we always write the answer as a whole percent, something like 17. So maybe our 25-pound dog is in the 17th percentile. You know, a lot of times you'll hear this with babies, you know, their height and weight will be ranked in terms of percentiles. Just out of tradition, we don't write it as a decimal, and we specifically don't write it as a subscript because that's actually telling you what number to go get, not a ranking, but you'll see that in an upcoming recording. So now let's go ahead and actually find some percentiles. In the first problem, it says I'm given an ordered list, really important, because if I wasn't, I'd have to go back and order it. But I'm asked to find the percentile of 8. So I go find 8 in the data list. And remember, I need to count how many numbers are before the 8. So there's 1, 2, 3 numbers below or before the number 8. So as I go to find my formula, I take the number of items before, 3 numbers before, divide by the total count. I counted up that there are 10 numbers in the list. I multiply by 100 and I get 30. So 30% is the result. So let's go ahead and do another one. This time I'm asked to find the percentile of, it has to be a number that's listed up above, and in this case it's the number 10. So maybe you want to pause and try this one and check your work. But what ends up happening is I go find 10 in the list. How many numbers are below it? There were 4, and I divide by 10. Be careful. This time I'm dividing by 10, still because there's 10 numbers in the list, not because I'm trying to find where 10 ranks in the list. Multiply by 100 and get 40, so I have an answer of 40%. So for the last one, we need to find the percentile of 17. Let me have you do that one, and we'll cover it in class.